Bob Seger once walked out of a record label meeting and said he would rather flip burgers than sell his soul to disco music. Tonight, we reveal the shocking truth about America's most beloved rock star and the brutal wars that made him a legend. By the end of this video, you'll discover the one enemy that nearly destroyed Bob Seger's career forever. Detroit, 1975. Bob Seger sits in his small apartment, listening to the radio. Every song is disco. His rock music is being pushed off the airwaves by dance tracks, but this isn't just about music preferences. This is about survival. Radio stations that promised to support him are now playing nothing but disco hits. Seger feels betrayed. These aren't strangers making business decisions. These are people he trusted, people who looked him in the eye and promised loyalty. Let me tell you something most people don't know about Bob Seger. He grew up dirt poor in Michigan. His dad left when Bob was 10 years old. His mom worked 3 jobs just to pay rent. Young Bob found his only escape in music, but even then life was hard. He played in local bands for pocket change while watching his mom struggle with bills. This childhood shaped everything about his later hatred for fake, manufactured music. For 10 years Seger fought to make it in music. He watched lesser musicians get record deals while he played to empty clubs. When his first hit Ramblin' Gamblin' Man made the charts in 1968, he thought his struggles were over. He was wrong. Record labels dropped him when sales fell. This happened over and over again. Each failure made him angrier at the music industry. Each rejection made him more determined to never compromise his sound for anyone. Then came the disco invasion. But here's what really happened behind the scenes. Radio program directors who personally knew Seger started ignoring his call. Stations that played his music for years suddenly changed formats overnight. They chased the disco dollar and forgot about rock music. Seger felt like his friends had stabbed him in the back. Studio engineer Mike Campbell revealed that Seger would bring newspaper articles about disco's success to recording sessions. He used them as fuel to make his rock music even more raw and real. The betrayal got worse. Atlantic Records offered Seger a huge bonus to add disco beats to his next album. They wanted him to sell out his working-class fans for money. Witnesses say Seger exploded in rage. He stormed out of the meeting screaming that he would work construction before betraying his audience. This wasn't just about artistic pride. This was about loyalty to fans who supported him through years of failure. He saw disco as music for rich people who never worked with their hands. But wait, there's more shocking drama coming. Keep watching to discover the one conflict that almost ended Seger's career completely. The punk rock movement created a different problem for Seger. At first he respected punk's energy and anti-establishment message, but then critics started praising punk bands while dismissing his music as old-fashioned. The breaking point came during a 1977 interview. A young journalist called Seger's music middle-aged rock for people who gave up fighting. This comment destroyed Seger emotionally. It hit his biggest fear, that success had made him soft and fake. Former band member Drew Abbott revealed that Seger became obsessed with proving his music was more real than punk's angry noise. He spent hours writing lyrics about working-class struggle. He wanted to show that traditional rock could be rebellious without being destructive. The obsession took over his life. Every song became a statement. Every performance became a battle to prove his authenticity. The punk war got personal at a punk band dedicated their entire set to mocking dinosaur rock stars like Seger. They wanted to show the audience what real rebellion looked like. Instead of backing down, Seger delivered what witnesses called the most passionate performance of his career. He proved that traditional rock could be just as powerful as punk's amateur energy. Fans still talk about that legendary show today. The Eagles represented Seger's worst nightmare about fame and success. Both bands started with similar country rock roots, but the Eagles transformed into polished corporate entertainers while Seger stayed true to his blue-collar image. The rivalry became bitter when Eagles member Don Henley allegedly insulted Detroit rock as too unsophisticated for mainstream success. This hurt Seger deeply because he once considered Henley a friend who understood working-class music. Industry insiders revealed the real reason Seger hated the Eagles. He saw their success as proof that audiences preferred comfortable lies over hard truth. While the Eagles sang about California dreams and luxury hotels, Seger stayed committed to Midwest values and working-class reality. Producer Jimmy Iovine disclosed that Seger refused to work with Eagles-connected producers. He chose artistic independence over bigger commercial success. Here's where the story gets really dramatic. The most painful rivalry was with Bruce Springsteen. Both men claimed to represent real American working-class experience. But critics always praised Springsteen's literary sophistication while calling Seger's approach too simple. This comparison devastated Seger because he felt his actual blue-collar background made him more qualified to speak for working people than Springsteen's college education. Studio musicians who worked with both artists described Seger's obsession with analyzing Springsteen's song. He spent countless hours trying to prove his superior understanding of American working-class culture. The rivalry consumed his thoughts for nearly 20 years. He couldn't understand why critics preferred Springsteen's complex approach over his straightforward honesty. The breaking point came in 1984 with Springsteen's Born in the USA success. Seger watched in frustration as Springsteen achieved massive commercial success with an album most people misunderstood as patriotic celebration instead of social criticism. To Seger, this proved that fake complexity sold better than genuine emotion. Former manager Andy Hartmark revealed that Seger became convinced the music industry preferred intellectual lyrics over real feelings. This belief nearly ended his career as he struggled with creative doubt. But the most shocking revelation is still coming. Stay with me to discover the enemy that Bob Seger hated more than any musician. The MTV era brought new challenges that pushed Seger to his breaking point. Image-focused pop stars like Duran Duran and Culture Club achieved success through visual appeal instead of musical talent. Success was no longer about songwriting or musicianship. It was about looking good on camera and making expensive video. Seger's refusal to participate in the video revolution cost him commercial success but protected his artistic principles. MTV executives allegedly told Seger's management that he was too old and unglamorous for their target audience. This rejection triggered painful memories of his father's abandonment and years of industry rejection. Sound engineer Bruce Dickinson disclosed that Seger's recording sessions during this period were marked by emotional outbursts. He poured his frustration with industry superficiality into increasingly powerful performances. Seger saw MTV culture as the complete corruption of rock and roll's authentic spirit. He believed music should speak to people's real experiences, not sell them fantasy lifestyle. His decision to avoid music videos wasn't stubborn traditionalism. It was a principled stand against what he saw as the destruction of everything rock music represented. Now here's the shocking truth about Bob Seger's biggest enemy. It wasn't disco artists, punk bands, the Eagles, Springsteen, or MTV stars. His deepest hatred was reserved for record label executives who treated musicians like employees instead of artists. These corporate bosses controlled artists' careers and gradually transformed rock music from authentic expression into manufactured product designed for maximum profit. The war with record executives began early in Seger's career. Label bosses demanded changes to his songs based on market research. Instead of artistic vision, they wanted to turn his authentic working-class music into radio-friendly pop. Seger fought these battles for hours, defending every word and musical phrase that executives wanted changed. His resistance wasn't just about creative control. It was about maintaining his connection to working-class fans who supported him through years of struggle. Former Capitol Records executive Jim Ed Norman revealed that Seger's reputation for being difficult came from his refusal to compromise his artistic vision for bigger profits. He would rather make less money than betray his musical principle. These corporate battles became legendary in the music industry. Seger spent decades fighting for artistic freedom instead of focusing purely on creating music. The personal cost of these wars was enormous. Former band members described a man consumed by his mission to preserve authentic rock music. His marriage suffered as he spent time fighting industry battles instead of being home with family. His relationships with his children were strained by the demands of maintaining his artistic principles while achieving commercial success. But here's why these battles matter. Seger's fierce independence preserved his authentic voice and created music that spoke directly to American working-class experience. Without corporate interference, albums like Night Moves and Stranger in Town became classics because they were honest and uncompromised. His fights with the industry inspired countless musicians to demand respect for their creative vision over commercial convenience. Producer Don Was admitted that many artists were afraid to work with Seger because of his reputation for perfectionism and refusal to compromise. But this same uncompromising attitude created the songs that made him a legend. Every track was a statement against industry corruption and cultural manipulation. As the music industry changed, Seger's principles remained the same. The emergence of alternative rock and grunge in the 1990s proved many of his criticisms about corporate manipulation were correct. Younger musicians began citing Seger as an influence, recognizing his role in preserving rock music's rebellious spirit during an era of increasing commercialization. The streaming era brought new opportunities for Seger's legacy. Digital platforms allowed his music to reach new audiences without traditional industry gatekeepers. This proved his belief that authentic music could find its audience regardless of corporate support. Younger fans discovered his songs and recognized the timeless quality of music created without compromise. In his final touring years, Seger reflected on the battles that defined his career with mixed feeling. He remained proud of his fights to preserve rock music's authentic spirit but acknowledged the personal costs of his uncompromising stance. His farewell tours became celebrations not just of his music but of the principles he fought to protect throughout his career. Bob Seger's story teaches us that staying true to your vision often requires fighting forces that want to corrupt or compromise that vision. His struggles remind us that the best art comes from artists willing to sacrifice commercial success for artistic integrity. In today's world of algorithm-driven playlists and manufactured social media personas, Seger's fierce independence seems more valuable than ever. His music endures not because it was the most commercially successful, but because it was genuinely honest. It was created by an artist who refused to let industry pressure change who he was or what he believed in. Seger proved that authentic voices can survive and thrive without compromise, if they're willing to fight for what they believe. The real legacy of Bob Seger isn't just great songs but proof that artists can maintain their integrity while achieving success. His battles with disco, punk, corporate rock, MTV culture and record label executives weren't just personal conflicts. They were fights for the soul of American music. While his criticisms weren't always fair, his unwavering commitment to his artistic vision preserved a voice that spoke directly to working-class American experience. Remember this: in a world that constantly pressures you to compromise your values for success, Bob Seger chose to fight instead of surrender. That's why his music still matters today, and that's why his story will inspire future generations of artists who refuse to sell their souls for fame and fortune.